Good morning, everybody. For all of you online, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. My name is Addis. I'm a board member of the ICT ET here in Addis Ababa. I want to first say good evening. I know for some of you it's like 2 o'clock in the morning, so thank you for staying up to be part of this. Welcome to the first, and hopefully with the support of our minister, quarterly uh, Ethiopian Conference on ICT Investment Opportunity. This is the Diaspora Dialogue. We're sitting here with some of our colleagues in Addis, the UN ECA. I want to thank the Ministry of ICT, the minister himself, his staff, along with the ICT folks, my colleagues, Levy, and the group. For working hard to put this together. Before we start, I would like to welcome Ms. Skadar Naga, who's based here in Addis, Ethiopia, where she works as a program officer in the ICT Science and Technology Division at the UN Economic Commission for Africa. Before joining the Economic Commission for Africa in 2000, Ms. Naga lectured in international public law and communication at the University of Law in Toulouse, France. She worked at the CERD a center dedicated to research on global and national trends in areas such as economic and legislative regimes on the ICT sector. This is her house, so she's going to say a few remarks and welcome all of us to the UNECA.
Get used to this. Good morning, everybody. ጤና ይስጥልኝ. Welcome to the UNECA. Your Excellency Ato Debrezion, Minister of Communication and ICT, colleagues from the Ministry of ICT and other stakeholders and representatives of the diaspora, as well as the private sector involved in the development of ICTs in Ethiopia. I welcome you, for those of you who are here physically and those participating virtually. It's a great pleasure for us to be involved and to collaborate in this great initiative in bringing on board a large number of stakeholders that have a stake in the promotion and the development of information and communication technologies in Ethiopia. As you all know, at the UNECA, we are very engaged and committed in harnessing information and harnessing information and communication technologies to address the continent's challenges and to tap in the opportunities that are presented by these technologies. And as a result, one of our core programs looks at the deployment and the promotion of ICTs and science and technology. We operate in the framework of a regional framework named the African Information Society Initiative, which has now counted more than 20 years, and we are very glad to see that in a very regular path, African countries are registering a number of progress, and the transition to the knowledge economy for our countries is not really a luxury now, but a necessity that we really have to take into account. So I'll not take much of your time. It's always a pleasure to work with our host country here in Ethiopia, and a great pleasure to work with Ato Debrezion and his team. We're involved in a number of activities, and we are very happy to engage in this process, and we invite you all beyond the borders of Ethiopia, particularly those in the diaspora, to engage with us and to engage with regional institutions that are committed to push the agenda of bringing information and technologies to our African brothers and sisters. So I welcome you all. I would like to take the final opportunity to wish you an excellent 2012, particularly the colleagues and friends who are abroad, and hoping that 2012 will be a very fruitful year for collaboration with the association, the private sector association that is doing a wonderful work, and we look forward to engage much more and in a more proactive manner with you all. Thank you and have a wonderful session.
Morning, everybody, again. This is Addis again. Right now, I would like to introduce His Excellency Dr. Debretsion, who's the Minister the First Minister of ICT here in Ethiopia. He was the former Director General of the EICTDA, former Chairman of the Board of ETC, and currently the Chairman of EPCO, and somebody who's always had a door open for anybody willing and able to engage with him in ICT. He's always been very helpful. He's very much encouraged us in terms of this association, and he's always given us a green light in terms of engaging with him and his staff. And I'd like to give him the floor now to give us a background on some of the stuff that's going on.
Thank you, Addis, for a brief introduction. I would like to welcome all of you here in Ethiopia, as well as those who are abroad. Well, I would like to focus on, I think there are two areas that I have to look into. The first one is what we have on ICT regarding this GTP plan. Of course, we are almost 1 year and a half since we started the GTP. So I will give you some highlight on it. In addition, I will speak some on the ICT park that we have already initiated in Addis. So I have framed my discussion on 3 points regarding the ICT progress or plan we have on in Ethiopia. The first one is regarding the infrastructure, because as you all know, without infrastructure we don't have any ICT. And then what we think on e-government. The third will be the ICT park. It was a separate, but I have linked all these together. And to narrow down the discussion, I have focused on our Ethiopian 2004 major engagement, and I will come back to the broad plan of GTP regarding infrastructure. Okay, on infrastructure, what we have done the last 3 years, maybe you have followed, we had a big infrastructure project. At the moment, we have closed that project, and now we are planning also to move for another big expansion. So currently, regarding mobile capacity, we do have 23 million capacity. And on, well, when I say mobile, it is particularly GSM technology. As regard to CDMA, we also have this wireless technology, and this is mainly dedicated to rural Kabbales, and partly on broadband mobile. It's also covering Addis and other major cities. So we are mixing both wireless technologies here in Ethiopia, the GSM and the CDMA technology. And regarding broadband, well, the current infrastructure has covered almost all Waradas, and it has a capacity of 2.4 million. 2.4 million, in a sense, it can provide services for customers, but as we speak, we have very few. It's a few 100,000 customers. And regarding the international connectivity, we have now 5.4 gigabytes. Actually, this is just what we have now, but since we are connected in fiber connection to all these submarine cables through Sudan, Djibouti, and Kenya, this capacity can grow anytime. So there isn't any international capacity limit because structurally we are connected with these 3 different routes. One route is Mombasa. It has started a few months back. We are also connected to Port Sudan and Djibouti. The main one at the moment is Djibouti through SECOM. So our position is strong in terms of international connectivity. So this is just the 5.4 I mentioned is the current one, but we can increase anytime to even 2 terabytes. Regarding the usage side, meaning the subscriber, currently we have around 13 million in this last month, and we are expecting to, well, the subscriber will grow high until June, and we are expecting to approach 20 million within Ethiopian calendar. Broadband, it is very actually it's around 200,000, but it's not only specifically broadband, but it includes the narrowband internet users as well. So we are on the low end on this side, but I think we are in a good position to increase the broadband usage of our country. As I said earlier, the infrastructure is ready. It's about providing the service and keeping and maintaining quality of service. We have also gone to various price revisions of the current services we have on SIM and broadband, and I think we are trying to push the price low so that people can subscribe and benefit of the investment we made. We have a number of issues on quality of service. That's still a serious issue from our side, so we are working on it, and we have engaged France Telecom actually to support us here by taking management of the new company, Ethio Telecom. So that was the current status of the infrastructure on some few items and very critical items. Now moving to the electronic government side. So on the electronic government, this is using the application. It is addressing the application side of the ICT. So we have a big roadmap on electronic government, and we have a plan actually for the next 4 years to address or to develop 219 electronic services. These have been developed after a rigorous survey with different sectors and ministries, and of course response as well from the public, meaning on the priorities of the services that they want to see online. So we are working on these 219 electronic services. Some are informational, most are transactional services that we have to provide for the public. Other than this, we have developed a call center. The call center is providing service. So around 12 sectors have started using it. So this is a contact point for the public to get information before they go, information on the specific sector, so that they can get a better service. We have also developed last year an government portal. So this is one window for Ethiopian government. This is just it has just begun. So 14 ministries and agencies have been linked to this portal. So this will be an area that we have to work on, this electronic government. So this will be as one stop for information as well as for other services that customers or even people from abroad can access. And so this is just beginning. At least we have started, we have an official government portal for the public. The other area is services that should be provided by mobile using the SMS technology. So this is just on it's preliminary stage. So we have started some services like actually like billing, meaning to get your monthly billing of EBCO, and some exchange currencies exchange on the banks. So we are linked with the National Bank. And last year, at the beginning of this year, we have also started using mobile or sending dispatch messages for students to get their own result, and then to actually for the grade 12 there were also to identify and to register universities. So they have used mobile, and there were more than 20 million hits on regarding this students SMS. We are also developing currently on unified billing. This is another application that required for the public. This unified billing is mainly concerned on integrating the billing of power, telecom, and water. So in few months, I think this will be operational. Addis will be the first city to be served from the ministry's point of view, and most of the preparation has been done. And the most important thing here is the strategy we used here was a PPP model. So it is a private sector who is developing and who are going to provide the service as well. So in collaboration with the government will will give them the access to the system. Then based on that, they have developed their own applications. They have software. They have been given sites where they can provide service. But at the moment, they are also employing staff. So as I said, in a few months, we'll see unified billing will be up and running. And I think this will be a good model for us to expand to the other electronic services. I also try to see how our ranking and global in the UN ranking. There are different methods that they used, and the UN, especially the UN ranking, it's aggregated mainly from infrastructure and HR, meaning it starts from literacy rate to tertiary level, and third is electronic services. So it's an aggregate of these three. So I've tried to single out only the application aspect. Well, want to show that there are progresses on this electronic government because I'm specifically looking at it, but on the bigger picture there isn't much progress. Even on the current ITU version of this 2011, we are as we were. So there isn't any much progress on the overall electronic government ranking, but on applications there is high progress in the last few years. So by 2005 we were ranked 176 from 191. By 2010 we were 111 out of 189. So at least there is a big improvement on application aspect, but not the entire UN government ranking. In any case, this is to show an improvement. Well, we have been also awarded the UNECA on some specific applications that was organized with cooperation of Finland. So this is something to say about our now. Before I go to the IT Park, I will also mention about the ICT infrastructure in regard to the GTP we had. As I said, GTP is 1 year and a half spent now, so we are remaining with 3.5. So our plan was to increase the mobile subscriber to 40. So by 2007 is Ethiopian, so it will be 2015. We will have 40 million subscribers, but our capacity will be 50 million from the network capacity aspect. On fixed current, well, by 2002, meaning by June 10, we had 1 million subscribers, so we plan to have 3. By internet, by 2010, we had under 300,000, so we have planned to reach this to 3.69. Dial-up, we were below 240,000. We want to push it to 2.69. Actually, we are revising this currently. We intend not to push with dial-up, but to move mainly to the broadband aspect of this internet service. So there will be a revision, but this was what we have planned when we started the GTP. Specifically on broadband, it was very few. Now we have planned to 1 million, but again, this is on revision currently. So all in all, the mobile penetration by 2015 will be 45%. Fixed will be 3.4. Fixed penetration will be again 15.98. Internet will be 4. Dial-up, anyway, these are the aggregate, but it will be around 10%. But I think this will change given the status we are in, and we are also revising our plan. But these are the government approved GDP for ICT. So to implement all those targets that I mentioned right now, we went through process of bid. Currently, we are on evaluating the vendors. So maximum in 3 months, we'll know the winners, and then we'll go into implementing those targets I mentioned. On e-government, well, I have already mentioned it earlier in totality, but specifically in the year we are in, we have planned to address, well, there were also backdrops of the 2003, meaning 2010, 2011. Including that, we have around 108 applications that have to be developed. They are already on the pipeline. The financing that we are implementing is mainly from government, and also donors, and the PP is just the beginning, but I think this will pick up from this year and the next year as well. Now I'm moving to the IT park issue. Well, the IT park has been on concept level for many years here. Some diasporas were also involved in the previous studies, and even they recommended a number of suggestions how to move forward. So finally, the government have decided to launch on this IT park. So this IT park is now being developed around Addis airport. So it's around 200 hectare. The plot size is 200 hectare. So we have already engaged many consultants from India, from Bangalore, who can be the model for us, of course, for model for others as well. So we have developed the phases and how to develop, and the different issues that have to be addressed, be it from technical or business point of view. So we have all conducted this feasibility study, and since last year we are on constructing the park. So this will be one area of intervention, and well, this is an area of intervention, but at the same time it is an area where we can develop ICT, the Ethiopian ICT, as well as we can contribute also to the neighbor and far more than that. So the IT park is a very serious strategy for us, and currently we have developed, well, we are constructing buildings that are necessary from the government point of view, and we are also constructing building for incubators for startups, and we are adding 2 buildings as well for the private sector, just to start the business. Otherwise we expect the private sectors to have their own plot and then build based on the standards we have, build their own premises or center. So this is where we are regarding the IT park, and we are also working on the infrastructure on IT from the IT. That area will be, I will say, an island, special island for the companies. The quality of service will be completely different because we are going to compete with other companies all over the globe. So we know what's expected, because as I said, we have referred to Bangalore. So based on that, we have developed the details, and we are going to implement the design soon, and we are on the bid again on that side, on the IT side. So every detail has been done by the Indians who develop Bangalore. So I think we have replicated, we feel that we have replicated their model regarding the design and other experiences. So by the current Ethiopian budget year, I think we will conclude this most of the constructions, and we will start to launch the IT park officially. So I was trying to rush my presentation in the interest of time, but I will come back to you if there are many issues and concerns. I will definitely expect you to raise very important feedbacks and inputs for the ICT development, and definitely for your intervention as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Excellency. There's one thing I failed to mention on introducing the minister was that we all feel inside the ICT that he's the fastest man on email in Ethiopia. Next, I'd like to call Siyum Berdet, who's the president of the ICT to say a few remarks. I don't have Siyum's bio, but he kept telling me that you know me very well. If I say anything, I might be biased. So I'm going to have him say a few words on his bio before he goes up. Okay. For you guys on the panelists online, can you guys hear us just to make sure?
Yes.
Yes, we are.
Hello?
Yes, we are.
Are you? You can hear us?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, all right.
Good morning, all, those especially in the diaspora. I'm sure it's very late. I'll try to make my presentation short. I would like to thank the the UNECA and its staff for the collaboration with the ICT. I would like also to thank the Minister of ICT and his team for the support we get. I am the president of the ICT Association in Ethiopia here. We represent the private sector, and I would like to go through a few overview slides and our plans in the future. Just to give you a background, this association was originally founded by a few private sector players like us. It was established in November 2010 through the Charities and Associations Agency License number 2055. We're here to expose, engage, and enable the private sector within the ICT in Ethiopia. This association has got a website, which is www.ictet.org. I'm sure you'll see it. It was developed by Modern ETH. Thank you. Mani is here. The association was launched back in 2010 in January. It was officially launched in collaboration with Google and the Ministry of ICT and Ethio Telecom. We have elected our board members. Just to give you a background, you can look at the matrix here. The pillars of this association are three: the information technology, communication technology, and broadcasting technology. The general theme is to establish this association, recruit members, regular and associate members, also fundraise to support the operation. We have, as you see, our plan to expose, engage, and enable. Expose, in a sense, is to have quarterly innovation, technology innovation series, international ICT conferences. We'll have one in March. It's the African Digital Summit. We are collaborating with the Ministry of ICT and Accenture, the organizers. By engage, we mean we have a program called Diaspora Mentoring Program. It's an online program which allows people with expertise in the diaspora to help Ethiopians here in the various sectors which mentioned up here in the information technology, communication technology, and broadcasting technology. We also engage with the government and the private sector. There's a special forum set up to discuss policy matters and any issues raised by the private sector. We represent specifically the private sector players here in Ethiopia. We also work on enabling the ICT park, which His Excellency Minister mentioned earlier. This is in the construction stage, but we'd like to bring in the multinationals, the big players, into the park so that many jobs are created the country's image in the field of ICT is promoted, and we compete in the region by providing the services, specifically in the outsourcing and outsourcing and other related aspects of the park. We have also the competition in the ICT. We recently collaborated with Google with application development and related matters. So, like I said earlier, the technology innovation series, we have quarterly one. We bring in the three pillars: the communication technology, information technology, and broadcasting technology. We bring in multinational companies, and so that they share their expertise and their know-how to the local companies here in Ethiopia, and the Ethiopian companies to actually have the business engagement with multinationals. We have also, for example, back in January 2010, we collaborated with Google. They had their application development day for the young entrepreneurs who like to engage in the application development sector for mobile applications. We had a good engagement with Google in the past. We have also workshops and conferences. We by that we expose the Ethiopian ICT communities to the international companies through the ICT conferences. We'll set up a one-to-one with those companies. We also have the same with the others, with the communication technology and broadcasting technology. The first workshop will take place this time for this year in February. Google Ethiopia, the first event in the region, probably not in the region, but in Ethiopia, and in Tanzania is going to happen in February and March. But February, Google is bringing experts from the company to work with the Ethiopian developers. So it's a big event, and I would like to invite you all to attend that. We also will hold our first international conference in ICT, the one I mentioned, the Innovation Digital Summit, which is taking place in March, end of March. And again, keep an eye. Again, to give you a brief description of the mentorship program, we have collaborated with IBM. I would like to thank Ato Kidane, who is now our panelist, who's going to give us a bit of background on incubation, and the ICT Center of Excellence, who are bringing all the participants into this mentoring program. We've been working with them, and it's showing some fruit. The Public-Private Sector Forum has been happening for a while now. We have attended 4 of these events in the past. We have taken advantage to kind of recommend and actually go through the various issues where the private sector here in Ethiopia is facing. Regarding the technology park, this is the enabling aspect. We're trying to attract many multinationals to come to Ethiopia and establish their presence here in the ICT park. Although in the construction stage, I would like to urge all of you here to contact all those you know to actually be aware of this big undertaking, so that we are competitive in the future. That will bring us expertise, many job opportunities for many of our compatriots here, and also we hope that will put Ethiopia on the map of ICT in the near future. It's being built, as His Excellency the Minister explained. It has the software development, call centers, and business process outsourcing sections within it, and it's also have a business incubation program, which assists the domestic entrepreneurs in expanding their business here. I mentioned the competitions earlier that will enable the young, particularly the young, to participate in the global competition. Google organized the kind of competition, and they have in the past organized one for Android mobile applications, and would like again all of you to communicate through your contacts, the people to participate. We have a very limited presence in the global scale when it comes to competition. We also put research and researches taken by university students and others. We put up on the website I mentioned earlier. We also communicate with our ICT members regarding these possibilities. We do surveys. Various issues have been raised. We do surveys through SurveyMonkey, an online tool, and analyze that and share it with our members and put it forward for the stakeholders. Our accomplishment in 2001, in January, the Technology Innovation Series with Google. In May, we've launched our website. In June and July, we participated in the 4th ICT conference. We brought inclusive a security standard organization to present the on cyber crimes and cyber security issues. We've been communicating with international organizations regarding fundraising and sponsorship. We've contacted USAID, DFID, and World Bank, and multinationals like MTN and others. In July, we started the mentorship program with ICT COE, IO Ventures, and IBM, and the Global Science Technical Forum. In August, we did a survey and analyzed that with the GTAX, the Google Technical User Group, for the Android Mobile Challenge. In September, we did a private sector survey on issues from public-private forum and presented it in July in the presence of many of the stakeholders. We have been hosting visitors from Extensia. This is a group who are organizing the Digital Summit Africa for the March event, Mobile Monday, VC for Africa, and many others. In conclusion, I would like to mention what's coming up. Today, this is the first event in 2012, the Diaspora Dialogue on Investment Opportunities. We have Google Ethiopia event in February, Innovation Africa Digital Summit in March, World Economic Forum, the ICT Forum in May, and annual Minister of Communication ICT, Communication and Information Technology ICT Conference in May, apologies, and the MIT Summer Addis Ababa University Innovation and Development Program. So we're going through this, and I would like to thank the organizers and all our stakeholders and members and potential members for coming, and I would like you all to be actively participating in this program, because we're trying to be the big players in the region. And I thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Sayum. For all of you out there online, we just wanted to add, Levi just reminded me that you are able to become associate members of the ICT from the US and engage with us mostly online. Next, I'd like to invite Ato Nabiyu, Yosef Nabiyu. I hope you're up. I know it's like 2 o'clock in the morning at your time. A little background on Nabiyu Yosef. Nabiyu's background in terms of education, he's got a Master's of Engineering and Electrical Engineering, experience in 18 years building IP and storage networks, disaster recovery solutions, storage and servers, responsible for certifying new emerging technologies to ensure solutions are in compliance with established technical standards and policies, responsible for cloud services and deployment, include storage server virtualization, responsible for the technical architecture of 15 production data centers, including the purchase of all storage, networking, backup, and NAS equipment. He's also been responsible for green data center initiatives, data center optimization to reduce power cooling consumption, and cabling infrastructure. Setting and chargeback cost model for all storage, networking, and backup solutions. Responsible for IT budget and procurement process. I've known Nabiyu for quite some time on a personal level. Whenever I'm in the U.S., we engage, via phone. He's been begging me to come to Atlanta and look at some of the stuff that he's been doing. And within those discussions, he's always, like everybody out there, has always dreamed about coming back home and doing what he does. And Nabiyu's been a little frustrated in the fact that Ethiopia has been not ready for his services, but I think we can we can safely say that we'll be ready for you, Nabiyu, in this year, if not the next, within the ICT park. So we've invited Nabiyu to give us some background on data centers and optimization and how we could set up, international level data centers in Ethiopia. Nabiyu, you there?
Yes, I'm here. Thank you, Addis, for quite impressive introduction. First, I would like to take this opportunity to thank the Minister and ICT members and everyone who's involved in making today's event, and also for giving us an opportunity to present today. Can you hear me, Addis?
Yeah, we can hear you.
We can hear. Okay.
So,
yeah. So I know it's extremely difficult to talk about data center in 15 minutes. I mean, that's what the only time is given to us today. But I put a few slides what I think will paint a high-level picture. And if there's any interest, we can deep dive into details at a later time. So we're going to look into the data center at 10,000-foot view. We're going to talk about the whole data center's deployment to learn the issues, the challenges we face today, because most of this data center was built 15 and 20 years ago in the U.S. And also we're going to talk about our current and future data center requirements and what I think we can take a few points to help even select the data center locations, which I'm sure it's already been selected, the IT park, where we can take take advantage of the technology we have, especially introducing green initiatives. And also, we'll be also some sample of the data center cost-based tools that we found on the internet. I'm not sure if the cost model applies to Addis, but close to what we actually cost in the U.S. And then we'll talk about where do we go from here. Since 15 minutes it won't cut the mustard. So data center is pretty much just a big warehouse where we have access to power and broadband or internet access is really the main ingredient for data center. And have raised floors and for cooling and cabling, and being able to deploy some of the servers and storage and networking gears, being able to run we call the buzzword now is cloud or applications or applications. So what I like to do is I like to paint a picture in terms of what we're talking about, the sizes of these data centers. Currently, I'm managing anywhere from 42,000 square feet to 300,000 square feet in size, which is really, if we look at it, a soccer field is about close to 80 to 100 square meter or meter square, which is about 88,000 square feet. So right now our data centers that I'm managing is anywhere half of the size of a soccer field to 3 times the size of the soccer field. In a nutshell, data center is you got to have power to it, and possibly redundant power is also a key. Fiber connectivity again. For what we heard from the minister, we do have redundant, broadband cable coming to the Addis. Make sure the place is very secure. Have the AC and the UPS and the generator in case of power failure, and then have a place available to host this servers. So I like to. The reason I brought this slide here is this is what we actually dealing with today. When we look back at data centers built 25 years ago, there's a lot of challenges we're coming across. The top left shows here's a data center with no power, but we have plenty of space and cooling available. Yet, we can't add any equipment as a this limitation in terms of power usage. Not to mention it's in the middle of the city that, sometimes it's extremely hard to bring power into that space because they have exhausted power consumption in that area. Now, remember, this is 20, 30 years ago when they built this data centers is mostly for mainframe, where the consumption rate power is about 30 to 50 watts per square feet or per cabinet, if you will. Nowadays, we're ranging anywhere from 4K to 16K, and today's and some of them it goes even higher, and a very high density virtualized environment. So we're talking about from 30 watts to 4 to 16K power consumption. We're talking about a 50,000% increase in terms of requirements. That's just a huge gap. It did not double or triple or quadruple. This is like a 50,000 increase from what we've seen 20, 30 years ago. So what happens is places like this is completely empty in terms of we can't add any more new equipment. If you look into the top right, it shows that we have no space, enough power and cooling available. But the workaround to this issue has been consolidation. In other words, older equipments, they may have, if we take an example of storage frames, 9 gig to 18 gig to 146 gig, 10 years ago. Now, you can buy 600 to 2 terabyte drives. So that's the only way we can actually consolidate 4 frames or 10 frames to 1 frame, being able to give us enough room to grow. So those are the kind of key areas that we need to look into when we design data centers, and same thing goes to cooling. Same scenario. There's power, there's space, but there's cooling has reached its limitation. And the other one is when we look at the bottom left, the bottom right, it shows an example where someone's actually looking into the environmental risk before selecting a location or building a data center. Here it shows this particular company was trying to show Las Vegas was a good place to build because there's no earthquake, or there's no ice storms, or no tornadoes or flooding, hurricanes and power outages and nuclear plants, what have you. So those are the kind of things it's always good to know, because right now one of the challenges we have, there's a lot of places, there's a data center was built right next to a river, as an example, and has exposed to flooding, in which is flooding to the data center is not only destructive in terms of production, but also can damage the equipment as well. So that would lead me to the next page. So how do we do site selection? I'm sure it's already been selected, but avoid those things. If there's any rivers and flood zones, tornado alleys, high frequency area. The reason I say that is there's really next to it. We've seen there's a radio stations right next to the data center, which had actually caused some interruption, some to the computers and so what have you. And airports, when we say airports is, as long as it's not on the path of landing and takeoff, where you don't hear or you don't feel the vibration of the planes coming in and out, it's fine. You can be few miles away, it shouldn't be impacting anything. But those vibrations, especially this drives, is very sensitive about it, and we've seen that issue as well. And again, the volcanoes areas and frequent power outage areas and things like that also to be avoidable. Now, when we look into preferable locations, is cool area, especially in Ethiopia, where at night, that's one of the data centers we have in Las Vegas. They're taking advantage of. At night it's very, very cold, and they take cold air into the data center, which means you're using less power, consumption of power, and overall cost is dramatically low. Space-wise, it looks like I think the IT park reserved a lot of space, and those are the kind of things, because you may start very small, but if in future you have to have the opportunity to grow if you need to. Easy access for shipping delivery, because of some of the equipments it could be heavy, and especially in high generators and air conditioning and things like that. So those are the kind of things need to be easily accessible to the building. Windows is very, very critical, because a lot of data centers, in fact, most of the data centers, 99%, I'm sure data centers, they don't have windows. But the few of them that we've seen, what they have done is, the equipment itself, they generate a lot of heat, and anything, any heat comes to the building, it's going to be that much harder to cool it down. So we're going to look into where really most of the cost is for the data centers in the next slide. Disaster recovery side is a key for continuous continuity of production-wise, and within a few distance away, within 40, 45, or 50 kilometers away, is very attractive for a lot of solutions, for replications that are very friendly within a very short period of time, and also it's easier to move people within that short period of time if there's a disaster recovery. Of course, dual power and sources, dual internet access is a given. Those are the must. Now, the next slide, it's not really so much to talk about the IP infrastructure where we have access and distribution and core topology. But this is where you bring the IP and the private channel into one connectivity for high speed use storage area networking, what we call a SAN. But also the cabling is very critical when we build data centers. Cables, they have a different grade, if you will. It goes from OM1 to OM4, and those are very crucial because of the distance limitation we have on this cable. So as we move to 10 gig to 40 gig and eventually to 100 gigabit connectivity, those distances is very crucial in how we design our data center. I think one of the elements is going to definitely directly impact how we design our networks in these data centers. Again, so we talked about power and cooling and fiber connections and generator water cooling, all this, but the main thing is also security-wise. Not only we have a physical security from outside, but also if we wanted to take this advantage, to take it like having multiple clients in the data center, what they call it the cage, where you can actually even have security within even data center itself. So you can have multiple clients actually can be using it without interfering or without accessing the other equipment. Network infrastructure, definitely we talked about a little bit. It takes time to build data centers in a year and a half. So one of the things we always look into is to make sure that the technology we're looking at, not today's technology, but what's going to become in about a year or 2 years, because that's the technology will be available or will be used on that data center in about a couple of years. Tools is, I can't say enough about tools. Without tools, none of this can be done. How we manage our power usage, capacity planning in terms of our utilization on server storage, network capacity, inventory-wise, hardware, software. There's a lot of different tools out there that it will help you to better manage the data centers. I think those are the kind of things we can spend the whole day talking about, just tools. And of course, you need to have also the electricians and the resources you need security-wise and cabling resources, of course, to do that. Now, the reason I brought the next slide is just power, just simply to show that we need to have redundancy on power, because power is a key element making things work, and having redundancy is also very crucial. And so just to make sure that whatever we do, redundancy is a key for power, and also for cooling. The old days, the way they were building data centers, and even 10, 15 years ago, we were cooling the whole data center. Now, we're looking into a technology where we can actually trap the heat, so that we don't have to cool the whole data center, which costs a lot of money to do so. So now that what they call is a hot aisle and cold aisle, where you're keeping the hot coming out of the hardware, and you trap it before it actually goes outside of that area. Not only you can optimize how you hold the data center, but also you can maintain that that cooling within that specific area that you want to cool off. Again, I'm trying to go as fast as I can. I found this tool, and I don't know how much accurate it is, but the point I'm trying to make here is when we build a data center, the main thing is, like I said, power. And then once you find out how much power we can bring to the building, then the next is how much kilowatt power, I can design per rack or per cabinet. Then that kind of will give you, how many racks and what the capacity you can have for that. Now, this dollar, I'm not sure how accurate it is, but this is kind of to show. But if you do 50%, what it is. The main thing I wanted to show here is where the cost is. Most of the cost is in power and cooling, and the others is, as you can see, also about the project management, the lighting, the raising floors and the fires and all that. But this is what I wanted to show, that almost 90% of the cost is at material cost, mainly for power and cooling. So again, this can be customized and specifically, how we do it in Ethiopia. I guess the next step is, so what's next? We have an opportunity to deep dive in specific, topics. We can provide, I think Kidani probably can talk about a little bit about the workshops. We've been doing a lot of those workshops and mentoring, so this could be entertained in that area. We can start doing mentoring program. But the business opportunity is really the burden of the cost for the data center doesn't really have to be in one organization and one unit. We can provide hotels, banks, airlines, and other private companies for the DR solution. I'm not even sure, like let's say Ethiopian Airlines. I don't know if they have a DR location. I mean, this could be used, to host, as a DR location. We can, providing the cloud services and private companies as well, where they can't afford to buy all this equipment themselves. Hosting services, outsourcing services. I mean, the opportunity is out there to make money as well for this data center. The case studies, for the data centers right now. Actually, we're building right now a brand new data center. Will be available in about a couple of years. The first thing we do is we talk about what worked in our data centers and what didn't work. How do we improve our designs, because not only the data center but also it's impacting how you design your networks, how you design your storage frames, how you design your servers, and also there's a roadmap we have. What are we going to do when the 40 gig and 100 gig connectivity comes online? Do we have that capability to do that? Again, about cloud and virtualization is a buzzword right now. But there's nothing but how do we automate and take advantage of the cloud computing service? And how do we reduce waste of server and storage resources? And how do we create repeatable patterns, if you will, or how we deploy solution quicker and cheaper? And I think virtualization will bring that. So I think this is what all I have for today. And if there's an specific interest in a specific area, I think we can deep dive into that area, and I'll be more than happy to provide that. Thank you.
Thank you, Nabi. Next, I would like to invite Ato Kidana Zariun Haile to speak about incubation in Ethiopia and some of the practices from the U.S. A little background on Ato Kidana is a business executive at IBM Silicon Valley Lab, responsible for development of IBM replication products and the Center of Competency. He previously managed
Hello, can you hear me? Hello? Hello? Hello?
Yes.
Hello?
አቶ ኪዳኔ ይሰማል?
እሺ so shall I start?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm on slide the outline slide. First and foremost, I'd like to thank the ICT minister and his staff, as well as the ECS staff and also the organizers of this session. Given the time limitations, I have only 15 minutes and the topic's really a wider topic, but I'll try to move as fast as possible. I'm on the outline page. So for today, briefly, I like to cover the prerequisites for the incubation and the basics to make sure we level set and have a common understanding. And also, I like to go over some best practices briefly. And given what's on the ground and the best practices, I like to go over some of the recommended approaches. And finally, I like to cover the call to action.
Go ahead, Mr. Kidane.
Okay.
Mr. Kidane, you're controlling the slides, so...
Yeah, I'm having a problem.
Okay, all right, take your time.
That's fine. Let me move on to the prerequisites. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Good. So basically, from incubation perspective, whether you see in the advanced countries of the United States or India or China, there are a number of prerequisites that we need to see. The main prerequisites for the incubation are like investment in science and technology, technology-centered education, and mainly is investment in science and having a sustainable economic development plan. So the next screen is I'm on the incubation basics. So what we see is incubation can be in anything, but an incubation service is a program basically that helps to develop successful firms. And mainly incubators enable the startup companies to provide like resources, academic enablement, as well as mentoring and also facilities. Incubation is about building impactful type of technology-driven businesses. It's about providing access to key ingredients that make entrepreneurs to be successful. So business incubation varies depending on the type of vertical, the type of industry, and the type of product or service you're trying to develop. For the different products and services, there are different models of business incubation. Business incubation within the IT sector should be a focus on software startup. It's like developing a business application or like developing mobile solutions. So I'm on the third page. So from a model perspective, there is a generic model for incubation, which is organization-wise, an incubator can be a business, a non-profit, and it can also be a government initiative like under Ministry of Labor or municipal type of initiative. But as a whole, a mission of an incubator is to build a technology-driven type of companies and ensure a successful spin-off of those companies. And looking at a generic model, the product and services an incubator can provide include the environment, the infrastructure, and also the ability to do a proof of technology and solution validation. Other areas also include the entrepreneurial development programs. You can have the incubation center, but if you don't have the entrepreneurial development programs, it will be hard to deliver the leadership capability. Other services also include the enabling the lessons learned and providing the necessary mentoring for the leaders as well as the individual technology contributors. Including a generic model should have value-added services. Value-added service, what we mean is like strategy design, market research for the startup, as well as staffing for the startup, as well as certain capabilities that the startup needs. Those kind of value services can be provided by technology incubators. So looking at the best practices, there are a number of countries that have incubation services. One of the best places from incubation perspective is the Silicon Valley. As you know, Silicon Valley is the technology capital of the world, and it has basically rich IT resources as well as technical talent. So in Silicon Valley, we have a couple of major leading technology institutes that do incubation of technology firms. The one we have in San Jose, California, this year is going to incubate 750 technology firms. In the last year alone, there were over 300 technology firms that were incubated right in the valley. The beauty of this is the valley has the Stanford University and UC Berkeley also that brings industry partnership as well as partnership from academia. So for many startups to exist, there also need this successful type of startup around the neighborhood. That's why Silicon Valley is different. Looking at the Silicon Valley model, what we see is basically entrepreneurs apply to the startup incubators. Once they are accepted, the incubators will have a training set up where for like 3 months or 4 months in an incubator services where they work on building their company, building their technological solution, as well as defending their business model. Once they're done in the 3 months, then there is a graduation, which is there will be a demonstration of their technology and their solution, where a number of VC and funders will be able to see the demo of those companies. Once those companies deliver the best technology validation, the firms get funded, either by VC firms or by angel investors. In this case, there is a technology incubation center right in the valley, as well as about 7-8 places in the United States. based on the experience, most of the incubators feel the mentorship and the seed money is the most critical that enables the startups to succeed. On the other best practices, I see India as we heard from the technology minister, that is in Bangalore, Pune, Hyderabad, and other places. The same way China has incubators. So with that, what I see as a common is the facilities, infrastructure support, prototype development, residency programs, business plan development. So the basic items are the same, whether you have it in India or Silicon Valley or China. What's different is, I like the way India has it. I see the technology institution has a partnership with the government as well as the financial institutions. This is a plus. It also has the science park, which works closely with the incubators. Plus, in India, one thing different that I don't see in China or others is the incubators also provide ideas. You know, people can come with ideas, and people who don't come with ideas but who come with skills can have the opportunity. In China, it's a kind of different, which is the incubators are more of a bigger model, and the focus is a broader model. Not only startup, they also look into existing companies, which is rejuvenation of their business. And also the focus from China is more on team-based and organized companies, not like solo. So those are the experiences and best practices that we see. From Africa perspective, I see Egypt has started in 2010, and Ghana has started this last year, and also see Kenya in 2011. But from experience perspective, they need to prove themselves, and at least from Ethiopia perspective for our situation, I prefer to look into the other experiences, which is Silicon Valley and the India experience. So looking at the recommendation, before I do the recommendation, I like to look into challenges and opportunities. I know this seems to be a challenge given the skills issue, technology exposure, as well as the technology institutions, as well as the knowledge type of business is complex, and also it requires a lot of hard work, creativity, and talent. But the beauty is, it's also an opportunity from investment perspective, as well as an opportunity from creating employment perspective, which leads to wealth creation and sustainable development. So personally, based on what's on the ground and what I see in India and China, as well as Silicon Valley, I think we prefer to have a hybrid. We recommend hybrid incubation, which is leveraging the existing models that we see in Silicon Valley as well as India. The model should be about incubating technology-driven ventures. One area that we need to focus is the incubation center, given the business is competitive in global, and the incubation centers need to be very competitive. And also, the incubation centers need to have a defined goals and goals, and they should be measured in terms of business impact and business success and their contribution to economic growth. Another area to look would be the incubators need to ensure they focus on organizational design, operation, competitive business strategy, and business model. Those are critical as we scale the business. Those are critical if you're planning to provide services to countries like in sub-Saharan Africa, as well as to the Arab world, as well as to customers in the developed world. You got to have a competitive type of solution, and you got to have a competitive model. Another areas will be there needs to be the ecosystem of partnership between the stakeholders, that's government, higher education, as well as international organizations. There also needs to be some revision of the patent laws, intellectual property. So lastly, the call to action would be, this is beyond a 15th page, so there needs to be some level of study, which I believe there are grounds based on what I have heard today. There needs to be a workshop that can put together a practical incubation type of workshop that shows all the key players, ingredients, as well as from infrastructure as well as to the knowledge components and tools. So we got to have some sort of workshop as a follow-up to this one. Another area would be it's imperative to engage the diaspora professionals, agencies, and some of the incubators that have done this work to ensure the competitiveness. Another area would be, I think, the guts of the work and the complexity is going to be developing the curriculum of the startup, which is ensuring the entrepreneurs have the vision, understanding what's their intention, what their vision, what their values are, and at the same time ensuring if they have done the startup research, which is what market they're pursuing, what target market is enough, is the target market they're looking, is it big enough or is shrinking, and also they have to also check what brand they have in mind, how they can develop their brand, and also they have to look into how they can develop their cost model, their profit model, and how they plan to take it to the next step and scale it in the event customers are going to grow and support is going to grow. And also there got to be some level of mentoring from legal startup incorporation perspective, and there has to be also a curriculum on product development, service development, so all offering and licensing and how to support the life cycle development of those products and services that those companies are going to do. So that's an area they have to have a full-fledged curriculum. Other areas that they need to see would be the outsourcing, partners and suppliers, like those companies, what parts they will outsource, what parts they will be able to do by themselves. Those kind of things needs to be part of the curriculum. Beyond this, I do have certain there are certain sections that people can review as a background. There are also some lessons as far as what it takes to get funded. There are also the tools and utilities that startup incubators need to have. There are also success factors and lessons that they need to understand. There are also the 20 reasons how incubators may and companies may fail or succeed. Those are the type of things. But in general, what I like to say is I think this is a great opportunity to start a knowledge-based type of businesses, and this is our opportunity to enter into the dynamic business and to have a footprint in the electronic technology as well as the technology businesses. So with this, I suggest a follow-on type of workshop. Thank you.
Earlier. Next, I'd like to invite Fitzum Mandange. A little background on Fitzum. Fitzum I've known for a while, and one of the main reasons why I actually wanted him to be on this presentation is when he was working at GE some years back, he disappeared on me for about a week, and I emailed and I asked him where he was, and I think that was on one of his trips to India, and it was when I think they outsourced about $2 billion worth of work to India. And I asked him, how come he didn't bring that work home? And he sent me a file on what Ethiopia needed to do to get a piece of that pie. So I think the minister covered a lot of the points in terms of us getting ready, but I wanted Fitzum to go back to those days and present on on some of the stuff that he was working on. A little background on Fitzum. He's got a Master's of Science from George Washington University, Management and Information Technology Management, a Bachelor of Science from Virginia Commonwealth University in Business Administration and Management Information Systems. Experience currently, Fitzum is a management consultant at Booz Allen Hamilton, a top strategy and technology consulting firm. He's been in this role for the past 5 years and consulted for the U.S. Department of Defense, U.S. Department of Treasury. His client engagements are focused on setting up business strategy, business process reengineering, operational management, and information technology solutions. Before Booz, Fitzum was an information technology director at General Electric. With over 9 years at GE, he led numerous system development, outsourcing, business process improvement, and project management projects. Fitzum is a certified expert in project management, business process reengineering, business process management, IT service management, and change management. Industry certifications include PMP, Project Management Professional, ITIL, Information Technology Infrastructure Library, LSS MBB, Lean Six Sigma, Master Black Belt, Nedro Karate CMAP, Change Management Advanced Practitioner, and he's an ISO 2000 certified young man. So Fitzum, please take it over.
Thank you, Addis. I appreciate it. I too want to take this opportunity to thank the ITC Ministry, His Excellency, the Minister and his staff, as well as the association and all the participants. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can hear you okay.
All right, thank you. So just a quick agenda. Addis already covered my background, so I'm going to skip that. I'm just going to give you a quick overview of what outsourcing is and just get grounded and talk a little bit about why companies outsource and why countries want to be destinations. And then talk a little bit about some of the lessons learned from my experience at GE outsourcing work to India and China, and also just talk about the opportunities for Ethiopia and what Ethiopia needs to do in order to achieve that dream. And then we can do closing and question and answers. So just to get grounded and look at what is outsourcing, these days in America, outsourcing has it's sort of like a negative connotation. When you say outsourcing, a lot of people just don't want to hear it because at least in America, in the West, people attribute outsourcing to lost jobs, a lot of lost jobs. As you know, in the 90s, a lot of the technology jobs, what people consider good jobs, went to India and China. So people don't want to hear a lot about outsourcing. Same thing with manufacturing. A lot of the manufacturing went to low-cost countries such as China, as well as just the neighboring here to Mexico. So, just to get everybody grounded, what outsourcing is, and then more importantly, I think for Ethiopia, offshoring, and it's just a subset of outsourcing. So basically, outsourcing is when a company gets into a contract to do work with another company, work that they don't want to do, or it's too mandated to do, or something that they don't want to focus on. They get into a contract with another company that does it probably better and more efficiently. So that's really what outsourcing is. Most cases, outsourcing allows other companies to focus on their core mission and also let some of the details and nitty-gritty taken care of by experts in a different company. Typically, functions being outsourced are considered non-core business. Let me give you an example. If you have an insurance company, you would want the majority of your resources to be doing underwriting work, to be doing sales, claims, type of insurance work that brings you the dollars, what's called value-added work. Tasks such as IT, such as hiring, maybe laying off, or data entry, that type of work could be done offshore or even locally in the country much cheaper and much efficiently by a small company. So those are the type of work you would outsource, what would be considered non-value-added work. Most common form of outsourcing work there are two common ones. One is in information technology. The other one is what's called BPO, business process orientation. And in that case, in terms of the IT, you're looking at data centers, IT application development, A lot of call centers type of work is what we would consider in the IT world. Business process outsourcing is looking at taking a whole function such as an HR function, do an interview, and all of that work, you outsource it to a different company. So there you're actually outsourcing a business function, a business process such as marketing or sales. And in the IT world, again, you're outsourcing a whole department or a specific function such as development. So what's offshoring? Now offshoring is when you're taking that work and you're taking it overseas. So in a case, India would be considered an offshore destination. It's basically outsourcing but in a different country. Now there are many reasons why companies want to outsource or maybe even offshore. Some of it could be strategic reason because they want to get into those markets. Some of it could be because it's a lower cost, such as India, for example, when it started out, it was a lower cost destination. And some of it is because they have a vast number of educated workforce that they couldn't tap in here. So there are many reasons. So why do countries want to be destinations for offshoring? If we take an example of India, if you look into the 80s or before the 80s, nobody remembers India being such a big global economical powerhouse. At least for me, I don't remember India being known as a destination for an economical or other development. But once IT in the late 80s and into the early 90s, once IT became a commodity, that made it possible for companies to start going to India and Vietnam and other countries as a destination. That's because IT wasn't a specialized function anymore. When you look at Microsoft and General Electric and IBM, big companies, they had staff of 10,000, 15,000 IT people, mostly programmers doing work. So these companies quickly found out that you had vast number of people that are educated, PhDs, technical graduates that could do the same job. If they had the same standards, they could do the same job for lower cost. And they wouldn't have to deal with a lot of some of the human kind of labor laws that they would deal in the States, such as paying for healthcare and other services you would. So India became a quick destination in the 90s during the dot-com, where all businesses were automating and building system applications. Everybody was heading to India. I have here some numbers from about 2 years ago. It was a $47 billion business for India. We're looking at 2.2 million people employed in 2009, and a majority of the sectors were financial. You're looking at 41% of what was being outsourced to India was financial services. High-tech contributed to 20%, and then you had manufacturing and others 17 and 8%. So why do companies outsource their operation? I mean, this is really a no-brainer. You're looking at number one being a cost saving. There are different business models why, like I said, why companies go to different countries. Some of it could be low cost, some of it because it's strategic advantage, and some of it could be so that they can improve their quality. You're looking at India, for example. They have millions of educated workforce that at the time in the 90s you couldn't find here. So that scalability and the ability to actually have work continuously being delivered was one reason why companies were heading to India. The others are improving quality, knowledge management, and also operational expertise. If you look at it, a company can just focus on what they do best and let some of the other experts do what they do best, in this case technology or some of their other business functions. And also some of it could be to avoid liability and also tax benefit. So I put here a few things that Ethiopia needs to do in terms of if Ethiopia wants to achieve the vision of being a destination for outsourcing. I grouped them into 3 areas, and let's look at all 3. The first one is human resources. Again, one of the things that India had that was very appealing was that the size of their population. As some of the other panelists spoke today, scalability is a big factor. Once you get into this business and you become a destination, a lot of other companies are going to follow, and so you better have the size and the ability to expand. So that was a big reason. Number two, educational and other skills. Again, India had it. China is now having it. Math and science skills are huge. India has always been commanded on its ability to educate its population. They have the history, having been colonized by the British, had always had good schools, and in fact it was a destination for a lot of foreigners to go to school in India, so that was another factor. Another one is language and communication skills. That is a huge factor for the Western world. For example, before Vietnam and before China was ever considered, India, because they spoke English, that was a major factor why Western companies wanted to go there. And then on top of that, communication skills, being able to articulate, being able to read and write well is also another huge factor. The next two are kind of together, business norms and understanding of Western cultures. I remember when we first started taking work to India, there was a lot of problems because they didn't understand some of their business intricacy and some of the business forms. The Western world, people may be very casual when they joke around, but in terms of business and the business atmosphere, people are very formal. And so, at first there was a little bit of a hard time understanding each other, but quickly these companies set up business ethics and culture training to mitigate that risk. Then the other things to consider in human resources, time zones. As you can see, it's almost 2 a.m. here. So when you're supporting a Western client, really understanding the time frame and the nature of what kind of work needs to be done at what time also it becomes a big factor. And then last bullet here is accommodations and transportation. When we first went out to India, one of the big problems there was their accommodations. I mean, most of the people hated going out there because the accommodations weren't up to Western standards. Again, in a few years, all of those were mitigated by building new hotels, new transportation systems, and the airports were all upgraded. But that could be a factor. I know Ethiopia is doing a really good job in terms of the airport, transportation, the new hotels that have opened up. So a lot of these may have already been mitigated. So, but I just thought I would put it in there from an experience point of view. On the next column, I'm talking about infrastructure readiness. I think my colleagues here, the other panelists, covered a lot of these. Beside the human factor and the population size and skills, the other thing companies want to come to is for your infrastructure. I mean, this is a non-starter. If you don't have good infrastructure, nobody wants to come because, again, they'll be delaying work. They're not able to communicate, and so that's a number one thing I think. When you're planning. Beside building your pipeline with your education and training, I think the infrastructure is just quite as important. And here we're looking at network speed and availability, hardware and software availability, cyber and physical security. Again, lately there's been a lot of threat on the cloud, and companies want to make sure that their work is protected as well as their security and networks are all protected. Physical security is physical security in terms of human security, but also the physical compound that people work in. They want to make sure that's protected from any type of harm. Intellectual property laws, this is very important. As companies send their work, they're sending their trade secrets, they're sending their operations. That gives them a competitive advantage. They do not want that shared with anybody. They do not want that stolen. So they're entrusting you with their business operations, with their models, with a lot of things that they wouldn't want competitors to see. So making sure you build that trust by having the right intellectual property laws is, again, very, very important. Software piracy is, again, a big issue. This happened in India where the development company, the outsourcing company, was using a pirated software. So who ended up paying a lot of fine was the company that outsourced all their work, the big companies. The ones we call as the deep pockets. So that became a big issue and companies were really scared to outsource their work. Again, all of that could be mitigated by having the right software licensing agreements and also making sure that all of the work is being done on a licensed copy. Now, in the last column, I called it quality standards. Here, again, companies when outsourced beside the educational and the infrastructure, they want to make sure whatever they send you is done with the same quality standard as it would have been done in-house. So adhering to IT standards as well as software, hardware, compatibility, and also, working on industry-recognized standards such as ISO product standards, having quality assurance and quality control plans. And so these four are very important to companies because they have no tolerance for defects. They want to make sure it's done once and it's done right. That was one of the compelling reasons why they would want to outsource, because of the low cost. When you have defects, you're going to have run-in costs because you're doing it over and over. The next four are what I call policy type of things that you want to make sure you ensure. Tax incentive policy. I know for sure now Egypt is into this game, such as also Ghana, and in the Far East you have Philippines, Vietnam, and Thailand all getting into the game because almost India and China have now become expensive. So as you see, countries are getting into the game. We want to make sure Ethiopia has the right tax incentives to bring these companies and to attract these foreign companies. Employee wage and fair labor policy is always important to Western companies. They don't want to be in a situation where you have sweatshop type of thing as we've seen, for example, in China. So they're going to demand and ask for wages, fair wages, and hours, type of typical hours that employees work. All of the what's called fair labor policy needs to be looked at. And then the last thing is ease of doing business. Again, companies hate bureaucracies. That's one of the reasons why they would want to outsource their work. It's because they understand that these companies could do it easier and more efficiently. So they do not want to be stuck with bureaucracies trying to get licensing, or whether it is any type of bureaucracy. So all of that needs to be looked into so that these companies have an easy way of doing business. So where do we start in terms of getting all this done? Again, I'm going to go through and recap. I think the most important thing here is building your pipeline. Again, what attracted companies to India was because of that educated labor force and also the sheer size of that educated labor force. So for Ethiopia, I would say really work on building the capacity and the pipeline, making sure you have enough computer science and engineering graduates, and also make sure that these graduates also have language and communication skills, as well as cultural awareness and business ethics and business awareness trainings. These are all very important because it all starts with a human resource. The next thing is, again, as we've seen today in the presentations, build or modernize technology infrastructure to Western standards, and again, back to network security, network availability, cybersecurity, and having modern facilities. Next, we're looking at implementing and enforcing international IT standards. That's quality control, product standards, and the IP policy we talked about, fair labor policy, tax incentives. And then finally, once you achieve all of these, then you can start attending and utilizing international IT conferences, development conferences. I know that Google has one, Microsoft has one, I think Apple has one. There's a lot of conferences that the group can attend and start marketing Ethiopia as a destination. But I think before you do that, you want to make sure the top 3 things are all covered and all implemented. So with that, I will conclude my presentation. I have sources. Some of these numbers I got out of sourcingmagazine.com. If you want to look at more stuff on outsourcing or offshoring, that's a great link to go look some up. With this, I will give it back to the presenter.
Okay. Thank you, Fatum. Next, I'd like to invite Manny Amar. Manny, I don't have your bio, but I mean, I'm a personal friend here, so whatever I say might be a little biased. So, but on a personal note, everybody's talking about the possibility of doing business in Ethiopia, doing outsourcing in Ethiopia. Manny, I think, took a personal stake and actually is doing it. And I think it was the New Year's Eve at the David's party. You mentioned that you have now the largest IT outsourcing company in Ethiopia. Andulat but I don't know if it's true. Good. Manny's been at it for a very, very long time. He's been through a lot in the past. I think 5 years now. 4 years. He's built his team. The kids work downstairs, and they're always up until midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning. So we invited Manny to come and speak about his personal experience in terms of outsourcing in Ethiopia in the current environment. So.
Thank you, Addis. I'd like to thank the Minister and ICT to allow us to present today, even though it's last minute. I also like to apologize for my voice. I think I have a bit of a sore throat. Sorry about that. Okay. So what I'd like to do today, just briefly talk about our company, what our outsourced services are, our challenges, and our success story. I'll keep it brief. About our company, like Adi said, we started about 4 years ago. Today we have about 65 professionals. We are open until 5 a.m. every day to service our clients in California. Our company is part of Altour, which is our parent company, and we started about 20 years ago. I've been with that company now 16 years, the last 10 as a partner. We have 66 offices, and as you can see here, Ethiopia is our first location in Africa. Here, what I did is to briefly give you our methodology in terms of how we do our outsourcing model. We don't have to go through this in detail, but what I like to highlight is in various locations you see quality assurance and testing is very, very important. So in this slide, we just briefly talk about the services that we provide locally here in Ethiopia, as well as our outsourced services, which I'll go in more detail. In our outsourced services, we have several areas that we focus on. Our primary business is what we would call dedicated resources. So that would mean we would have resources here that are part of a client's team, in some cases as a whole department or integrated with them. So we have people that we have here that are integrated with our accounting team, sometimes with the software development team, in some cases with IT team. Application development, basically, we do mostly project-based work, and in this area, experience is quite important. Another service we provide is data entry. Because of our competitive pricing, we were able to do a lot of data entry jobs. That is one very easy service to do in Ethiopia, and usually doesn't have to be live, so it makes life a lot easier. We do creative design as well for our clients, and we employ about 4 very creative designers today. Here I'd like to talk about our challenges, actually what we faced about 4 years ago. I categorize them in 3 sections: telecom issues, power, and human resources. When we started, internet was almost non-existent. Sometimes it was slow. We were not able to VPN to our client sites to actually do work. Unable to do voice over IP to integrate with our customers' phone system. Power, we had major outages, downtime for our servers and desktops. In terms of human resources, we have discovered as we trying to build the team that the resources lacked what we would call U.S. standards. We had communication issues with our clients, lack of management experience within our team. We were unable to find project leads. We had limited resources that knew the latest technologies. 4 years later, I'd like to give you some updates. In terms of the internet, I think we are way better than where we are. Today in our office, we installed a 10 meg fiber optics line, which is much more stable. And e-videos, when we started, did not even exist. At least we have those deployed now across our company, so our developers can work from home. VPN, we were able to resolve that problem by obtaining a public IP from Ethio Telecom. VoIP still continues to be a challenge for us. Hopefully, when the ICT park is launched, that won't be the case anymore. Power issues we are happy with today. Regarding human resources, we had to do a lot of work internally to make sure that we brought our resources up to par, providing training. I can give you a small example. Even composing an email and communicating with our clients, we begin with that and create other employment engagement programs. As far as the management issue, what we decided to do was a shortcut, which is to bring someone from the States. He actually moved here about 8 months ago to run our development team. In terms of resources, we did something very creative 2 years ago. We went to the Addis Ababa University and spoke to the dean, explained our challenges. They allowed us to present to them and to the student body about our products and services, and we established an internship program. So we are now on our second year. We get about 12 interns at a time, and we actually, on their third year, we get them for about 6 months. And then those that are finished this year will join us, and we are able to recruit that way. So in terms of our success story, I can just simply tell you that today we have 50 people working for our clients, mostly for our parent company. Provide services in many areas, provide significant costs to our customers. Talent pool in Ethiopia, in my opinion, is very good. In summary, what I like to talk about is just the overall challenges to overcome. I know for me, the internet connection is the main issue, and I don't think there's anyone more than me that's looking forward to the ICT park. In terms of Ethiopia as an outsourcing destination, I think more work needs to be done there, not just by the government, but also by companies like ours. But in our experience, we were able to be successful by just bringing our clients to visit Ethiopia. We've done that several times. The country sells itself, and they see our operation, and it makes it easier. Thank you.
Thank you, Manny, for your presentation. I'd like to now open it up for some questions. Before we start the questions, I wanted to personally thank CIMAC, which is the company here that's allowed us to engage through the system that we're all engaging in. And so I wanted to thank the team at CIMAC for setting this up so that we're all connected today and speaking to each other, and hopefully they'll continue supporting us in the future. So as of now, I'd like to open it up for questions from the audience here and or outside online. Do you want to comment? Okay. Just give me 1 second. Let me give it to the minister. He's got a few comments that he wants to add.
Sorry for rushing up the comment before I get any response from you and from the audiences here, because I have to rush to other commitments. So I just want to first appreciate the UNECA and well, the association, and definitely staff from my ministry for organizing this important event. I think it will not be the first, but in the last. We'll build on it, and I would like to appreciate all of you, Nabiyu, Kirana, Futsum, and the speaker was Amaniel. First, categorically, I would like to say all the presentations were relevant and pertinent to our situation. I believe you can learn from all the inputs, and I can sense your experience on the fields that you have already presented. And I also feel we can work together on those areas and others definitely that were not the point of discussion today. And before I comment on the way forward, I just would like to say some information actually on the incubation. Maybe I think Kiran was discussing about the incubation, and we have incubation centers also here in Ethiopia. They were established with the support of the World Bank, and we have 4 centers in the region, and one we call satellite incubation in Addis. So we do have, well, it was established since 2008, and we have 42 startup companies. As you mentioned, these were young students who came with their skills, essentially, not with their ideas. So they were supported by consultants that were hired by our ministry and the World Bank, and 8 of them have graduated, meaning they have gone into the market by their own. So they don't need any more, there are no more talents, there are no more tenants of the incubation centers. So now they are on the ICT market, on working by their own, and hopefully the others will follow. And these are just to review some information that incubation has already started in Ethiopia, and we are constructing a big center as well in the IT park, because as you were mentioning, it has to be linked, with the incubation and the IT park activities. The companies has to be linked with the universities as well as with the incubator. In any case, this is just to brief you on information, but I'm sure with our next engagement, you will have more details and more ideas to forward. So anyway, I suggest for all the speakers, including the data center, because the data center is also one area of interest for us. We do have also national data center for the government, but in relation to the IT park, I think we have to work hard on this data center. We will not expect to have an IT park without data center. It will be meaningless. So the data center issue, the incubation and the outsourcing, all are interlinked, so they go together. Although they are presented by different speakers, but they are part of the whole IT park engagement. So they come together. So I suggest let's have a workshop, as they were mentioning from their perspectives, a workshop that brings all these speakers into one platform, and we have to aim regarding the workshop. Well, one, it should be a survey and reconnaissance workshop, what we have on the ground, and definitely based on that, so I will expect them to come with some recommendation, of course, together with all of you, because we have to build on this. It's not just a concept discussion or a general idea. Actually, Emmanuel has brought all these ideas into reality. So on the ground, there are activities, there are challenges that we have to address. There are success stories that we have to, again, praise and then build on it. So the concept is already on the ground. It has been demonstrated by him, and there are others as well, by the way. I'm also looking to some other guys in this room who are also working on the outsourcing business IT here in Ethiopia, who came from abroad. So I think let's bring all these actors from abroad and those who are here who have some stories to tell on the successes and the challenges. Then based on that, we can draft an action plan, how to move forward, specifically on the IT park and much in the broader sense of ICT development. I think this is the only comment I want to have, but I'm sure we will come out with some other ideas and recommendations. I would like to hear from the association and others aggregated outcome of this discussion. So I thank you very much, and we'd like to engage you further, and we would like to see you, well, not only from not on virtually, but physically here in Addis. So thank you for contributing and for your sharing your view and for your interest as well to work and to share your experience. Thank you.
You're able to handle questions? You're able to handle questions? No questions? So for everybody online, since due to a bit of time constraint, what we'd like to suggest is if anybody has comments, suggestions, or questions going forward, to email it to us at info@ictet.org, and then we'll make sure that we'll pass on the questions and the comments to relevant parties. And I want to thank everybody here for coming. I think we have a little bit of coffee and tea outside. So for those of us that are here physically, we can network and talk to each other. Skadar is buying the coffee. For everybody online, you guys can go back to sleep now, and thank you, and we'll get back in touch with you, and we want to make this a regular event, so we'll be working closely with the ministry, with the UNECA and everybody else to make sure that we do this at least on a quarterly basis. And like the minister said, he's basically given us a mission to accomplish, and we're going to be working hard on doing exactly that. So I want to thank everybody, all the partners, everybody that's worked on this. Yulikal, who couldn't be here with us because he left, he worked so much for it. He actually wanted me to do a 1-minute silent thing for him, but he's with us online. So Yulikal, thank you for all the hard work. I know you're not here physically, but we can see you online. Thank you, everybody, and have a good day.